inherited, bought, administered and sold property, adopted children, and filed lawsuits. Scholars have traditionally held inherited status and civil rights with men. Women independently executed wills, witnessed documents, inherited, bought, administered and sold property, adopted children, and filed lawsuits. Scholars have traditionally held that Western law and jurisprudence had their origin in ancient Greece. This view is now open to debate.
As an attorney, I was very interested in the ancient Egyptian legal system. I was especially surprised to learn of the will of Lady Nonakte. As a result of that, I decided to engage in research on the will on my own.
Attorney Clegg, your trial has been continued over till tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
As a nation, Egypt predated Greece by thousands of years. The ancient Egyptians enacted many laws and created a very advanced legal system, which at various times included judges and juries. Recent research clearly demonstrates that the ancient Greeks derived much of their philosophy, science, architecture, religion, and medicine from the ancient Egyptians. Further investigation may well reveal that Egyptian law was also the basis of that of ancient Greece. In our effort to study the will of the ancient Egyptian noble Lady Nonakte, we visited the research library at the University of California at Los Angeles and the Central Library downtown Los Angeles. The independence of this ancient Egyptian woman was made clear by her surviving will, which we found in the 1945 edition of the Journal of Egyptian Archaeology. A wealthy widow of some stature, Lady Nonakte had married twice and inherited property from both husbands and her father. She left her own personal property and her share of the last husband's estate to some of her 8 children, but disinherited the others for lack of consideration toward her. To show how advanced the ancient Egyptians were and how much we have learned from them, it should be noted that Lady Nonakte's will was notarized and formally included on the court docket.
As we have seen during the early history of Egypt, women of the nation were generally equal to men in many respects. Even so, the position of pharaoh or crowned head of the country was almost always held by a man. Nevertheless, there came a time when 3 extraordinary royal women took center stage. It was during the 17th Egyptian dynasty, a period of great humiliation. The Egyptians had been conquered by foreigners, probably Asians, called Hyksos. The great royal mother, Tetisheri, her daughter Ahmose, and her granddaughter Nefertari played critical roles in freeing the nation from foreign rule. Let us recapture the significance of that troubled time in black history.
While filming the drama for the Daughters of Isis, we were joined behind the scenes on the set by Nzinga Ratabisha Heru, chairperson of the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations.
Nzinga, thank you so much for taking out of your busy schedule and appearing on the set of the Daughters of Isis to be our guest today. We certainly appreciate your contribution.
And thank you, Legrand, for the opportunity.
As a rule, we look at history from a male perspective. Even when we think of the origin of the United States, we speak of the founding fathers. In ancient Africa, however, there are times when we speak of founding mothers. Can you speak to that?
The founding mothers are a very integral part of African history. As a matter of fact, in this particular case, what had happened is Egypt was ruled under the domination of the Hyksos. They were, in fact, the Asians. So what had happened is all the royal families were pushed to the south, and actually Egypt was there under domination by outsiders. However, they had to go to the south to organize, to actually strategize for the liberation efforts to regain Egypt. And that was done by a sister named Tetisheri. Tetisheri and her husband worked very hard to overthrow the Hyksos. What had then happened was her daughter, Ahmose, then joined the fight to help regain this country, When her husband was killed in battle, it was Ahmose, a sister, woman, warrior, who went out there and led the troops to overturn these foreign invaders that had come to monopolize their land. They battled until again another daughter came, and that daughter is known as Ahmose Nefertari. Now, Ahmose Nefertari is the one that is long sung praise because she is clearly of Nubian stock, but it was she and her husband who were actually the founders of the 18th dynasty.
Let us now turn to the 17th dynasty and visit a scene from the lives of two of the founding mothers of the 18th, Tetisheri and Nefertari.
Good morning, Grandmother. I've come to see if your leg still troubles you.
Ah, Nefertari. Isis has surely blessed thee, my child. You truly possess charm, sweetness, and love, my child.
But I fear you are wrong, Grandmother, for I am the one who surely has been blessed by Isis. She has provided me with such a guardian whose love is as strong as the Pharaoh's flail. Now tell me, Grandmother, how is your leg?
Give Grandmother a few moments, my child. Bring me the throw sticks.
Hi, kitty.
That will be all. You may both leave.
So now, Grandmother, tell me, how is your leg?
The pain in my heart is greater than the pain in my leg.
What is the meaning in this riddle you speak?
Come, join me in a game of cynics, and I will tell you the history of our people, which troubles my heart. 1,000 seasons ago, our nation was rich and powerful. It was our second golden age. Our ancestors controlled the vast Nile Valley. There were great pharaohs such as Menahotep II, Amenemhet III, Senusret I and II, who reigned supreme. And there were great queens like Khmut and Asheret.
Grandmother, which dynasty was this?
The 11th and 12th dynasties. It was our most glorious days since the pyramids were built. The people prospered, the land was fertile, and the gods were pleased. But at the end of the 12th dynasty, a human plague struck our land.
A human plague? Do you mean like an epidemic?
No, it was a mob of a strange people, a pale-faced race. We call them Hyksos, rulers of a foreign land. They burned our cities, destroyed the temples, massacred many of the men and enslaved the women and children. The royal family was stripped of their authority and banished from the throne.
Were the kings and queens killed too?
No. Fortunately, many of them managed to escape the barbarians, and they fled south into Nubia. For 200 seasons, our people have been in exile, first in Nubia, and now in Egypt. But when the war is over, we will reclaim all of our land.
about the war? When did it start?
Your father, Sennacherib, was a proud man, and he could not bear the shame of seeing Egypt under foreign rule.
Did father start the war?
It was because of the arrogance of the Hyksos king, Ahmose.
Arrogance? What did he do?
Well, long before you were born, we left Nubia and reestablished the capital of Egypt here in Thebes. Our palace was not so many miles from the Hyksos invaders, and our presence threatened the king.
Threatened the king? But grandmother, they were on our land. What nerve.
Yes. But you see, the king sent a warning to your father, warning him that the noise of the hippopotamuses were too loud and he could not sleep, so the animals should be killed.
What? The hippopotamuses were too loud? Was this some kind of Hyksos joke?
There was no joke. It was an insult of the worst kind. You see, the cry of the hippopotamus is a symbol of the authority of the pharaoh.
Grandmother, you mean like the pyramids are symbols of ancient wisdom?
Yes. You see, the Hyksos king challenged the authority of your father. He could not hear the cry of the hippopotamuses. It was his way of using a message to stir up the anger of your father.
I know my father didn't stand for that.
No, he didn't. He mobilized the army and made a courageous drive against the Hyksos barbarians.
So that is when father was killed. I remember my mother telling me of this. She said that when he came of age, my eldest brother Ahmose continued the war after father had died.
Your mother was much too modest, my child. After your father's death, it was she who brought the troops together and led them to battle after battle, to Ahmose, to their life. And like your father, Ahmose was killed. And now, almost my only remaining grandson is in Syria, waging a battle against the barbarian Hyksos. I only pray that he too will not.
Do not fret, grandmother, for the gods show me, as they have told the priests, that he will survive and return home safely. It is the divine will that a mighty pharaoh will rise up, smite our enemies, return and unite the two lands, Upper and Lower Egypt. Ahmose, my brother, is the pharaoh of that prophecy. So do not worry, grandmother, for our people will be liberated, and the nation, it will prosper.
You are a gift from the gods. You are the embodiment of Isis. May your name be honored and endure for generations, like the pyramids and the temples.
The words of Queen Tetisheri, grandmother of Nefertari, did indeed echo down the corridors of history. For generations, Nefertari, the chief queen and sister of King Ahmose, was worshipped by the Egyptian people. She bore several sacred titles, including royal daughter, great royal wife, and divine mother. Nefertari and her family were widely praised for liberating Egypt from foreign domination. According to a number of distinguished Egyptologists, from Flinders Petrie to William Leo Hansberry, this great queen was the most revered person in the entire history of the Nile Valley. Indeed, a distinguished daughter of Isis. In part 3 of this series, we shall begin with the 18th dynasty of Egypt, which was the extended family of Queen Nefertari. We shall explore the lives of such eminent women as the pharaoh Hatshepsut, Queen Tia, and Queen Nefertiti. We shall also recapture the lives and times of Ethiopia's empresses and warrior queens. Finally, we shall examine the role of the Black Madonna in Africa, Europe, and
vitality and authority of God. His role was well defined as ruler of the nation. In spite of this, Egyptian women had a special place on the throne. First, they were guardians of the royal lineage. That is, most male heirs did not become pharaohs until after they married a princess of royal blood. In many cases, this meant that a young man, as is depicted here in the union of the pharaoh Ahmose and his queen Ahmose Nefertari. Secondly, as we shall see in part 3 of this series in the case of Queen Hatshepsut, if a deceased pharaoh's legal heir was too young to rule, or the king left no male heir, then the queen was permitted to head the nation. The queens of Egypt played a vital role on the throne. A number of them rose to prominence from about 3000 BC to 1800 BC during the Old and Middle Kingdoms.
First dynasty, you have a woman known as Mernite. And according to W.B. Emery, Walter B. Emery, in a book called Archaic Egypt, it was published in 1965, he identifies her as a monarch, as a living hearth. And she is the third or fourth ruler of dynastic Kemet. So Mernite is very important, but unfortunately, because of the antiquity of the time in which she lived, we don't know a lot about her. Her tomb seems to be one of the largest tombs in the first 2 dynasties. This is called the Archaic period or the early dynastic period. Now, in the 4th dynasty, you have a woman known as Queen Nefertari. Now, she was not a monarch, but she was the wife of a man known as Nefertari, who commissioned 2 massive pyramids, and she is the mother of Khufu.
One of the great pharaohs.
Exactly. But when you get to the 6th dynasty, which is the last dynasty in what's called the Old Kingdom, the first golden age, you have a woman known as Nitocris, and undoubtedly that's her Greek name. Nitocris comes after Pepi II, who, as you know, had the longest recorded reign in world history, 94 years. She is described by Herodotus and others as the noblest, the loveliest, the most just woman of her time. And I believe Herodotus even goes as far as to say that the pyramid that is normally ascribed to Menkaura, or Mycerinus, is actually that of Nitocris. So she's very significant. Those are the women that stand out in the first several dynasties. Now, after the 6th dynasty, of course, you have what's called the first intermediate period. This is an age of social disorder and confusion. And then you have the 10th dynasty, in which a black king, once again from the south, moves up, conquers the 2 lands, northern and southern Egypt, and unifies Kemet for the 2nd time that we are aware of in history. That is Nefertari-Mentuhotep, who reigned for 51 years. Now, he had 2 great queens. One is Kawit, the other is Ashayet. Now, perhaps the most interesting thing here is that we know about Mentuhotep II largely because of this statue in the Cairo Museum, the black statue that portrays him in the divine color of ancient Kemet, the color of God, the color of divinity, the color of black. But interestingly enough, his queens are also oftentimes portrayed in that same color. And I will draw your attention to a piece, I believe it's in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, maybe in the Cairo Museum, that depicts both of these queens, Kawit and Ashayet, in that same divine color. We don't know much about them. The 11th dynasty, I may have said the 10th dynasty, but actually this is the 11th dynasty, lasts about 100 years. And it's a transitional period. But in the 12th dynasty, once again, we see women very, very, very powerful. You have, in particular, the last known monarch of Dynasty 12, a woman known as Sebek Nefertari. She is the daughter of Amenhotep III.
While the goddesses and queens of Egypt have a very special place in history, it was the average woman of that land whose independence and respect surprised ancient foreigners and still baffle us today. The Greek writer Herodotus, whom some have called the father of history, has stated, "The Egyptians themselves in their manners and customs seem to have reversed the ordinary practices of mankind. For instance, women attend market and are employed in trade, while men stay at home and do the weaving. Of course, Egyptian men did more than weave if they weaved at all. They were pharaohs, governors, judges, doctors, priests, warriors, laborers, and so forth. However, Herodotus was struck by the role of women in Egyptian society, and well, he should have been. For in his native Greece, women were very much confined to their homes. They rarely appeared in public and had few, if any, rights and privileges men were bound to respect. As a matter of fact, in many instances, the parents of Greek girls arranged their marriages at an early age and paid a rich dowry for the honor. These young ladies received no mental or physical training, but were taught to spin, cook, to obey their husbands, and to otherwise remain quiet and modest. But for thousands of years, the Egyptian woman and her sisters in other parts of Africa enjoyed more legal rights and privileges than any other women of their time and than most women of today.
The family unit was the most ancient and cherished institution in Egypt. Young men were urged to take a wife as soon as they were able to support her financially. Egyptian literature is filled with love poems between young men and women who affectionately called each other brother and sister. One such young lady wrote the following to her lover.
My heart flutters hastily when I think of my love for you. It lets me not act sensibly. It leaps from its place. It lets me not put on a dress, nor wrap my scarf around me. I put no paint upon my eyes. I'm even not anointed with perfume.
The Egyptian woman was well loved and respected by her family. Although her spouse was the head of the house, she was indeed responsible for running the household.
They certainly controlled the hearth and the home, of course. They also controlled fields in many, many instances. The agricultural situation in Egypt, because the most important agricultural deities at first were women, Aset or Isis being the best example.
In silence, every man who found interesting scenes of family stability seems to have prevailed. Interesting scenes of Egyptian family life. They show husbands, wives, and children. Another woman, let her not steal your heart. Thousands in silence. Then you recognize her skill. It is joy to her, where is it? Get it. When she has for young Egyptian husbands, he wrote, do not,
and therefore took their names from their mothers, as we said.
An ancient elder left a record of sound advice for young Egyptian husbands. He wrote, do not control your wife in her house when you know she is efficient. Don't say to her, where is it? Get it, when she has put it in the right place. Let your eye observe in silence. Then you recognize her skill. It is joy when your hand is with her. If a man desists from strife at home, he will not encounter its beginning. Every man who founds a household should hold back the hasty heart. Do not go after another woman. Let her not steal your heart. Thousands of paintings depict interesting scenes of Egyptian family life. They show husbands, wives, and children eating, hunting, fishing, enjoying music, and traveling along the Nile together. Family stability seems to have prevailed throughout the long history of this nation. Sexual discrimination in employment appears to have been unknown in Egypt. Alongside acrobats and musicians, textiles, and dinner party at which women playing drums and flutes entertained their guests. The Egyptian pharaoh governed the nation on the basis of Mayat. Women independent Greece. This view is now open.